Ultimately, I think the lack of trust, or lost trust with Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes came over a long period of time, right? You're not going to get that in 2 or 3 tests when the ball's nipping all over the place. It's when the teams have been in India or played on slightly flatter pitches, and he's struggled to maintain pace. He's walked off the field on the odd occasion with sort of back problems, and ultimately, as a captain, when you walk on the field, you've got to have full trust in your bowling attack that they're giving absolutely everything, because when you lose a bowler in attack, it can cost you a game. So I think that lack of trust from Stokes and McCullum eroded over a decent amount of time, and I imagine Ollie Robson would look relatively favourable in the fact that McCullum and Stokes have gone, in the sense that there was no old scars with that group. We've got Stephen Fleming will come in, and it's a completely fresh slate for him. Yes, Joe Root's captain before, but he's got a great opportunity now to set his own tone, really, set his own character to the new leadership group, because everyone will be watching for if he wanders off, how he is on a slightly flatter, tougher pitch. You know, he got left out at Trent Bridge against New Zealand because it was deemed that the bowlers would have to bowl a lot of overs, and the hierarchy looked at him and didn't think that he was the bowler that would be able to get the most out of that pitch for the long period of time. But these sort of pitches, Headingley, where it's nipped, this is nipped most for years. This morning with a brand new ball. Obviously, we remember what happened there. There was a wicket every 23 balls. He's absolutely perfect for those sort of conditions. When you know that he doesn't have to bowl 25 overs a day, he might bowl 25 overs in a day.
I tried spelling it. You'd already done it.
Getting a lot of movement out of it, and I think what we'll see from Ollie Robinson.
But you know how to do it, because
I
started spelling it out to you, and you'd already done it.
That he is now, and it's going to be difficult for him to change that perception. Somebody that is very much a horses for courses pick for him. What you're saying there sounds to me as though you don't feel as though he's going to be like a regular first name on the tee sheet. It's going to be, well, have a look and see what the conditions are like, and he plays if they're favourable.
Well, the advantage for England and Ollie over the next year is he goes to South Africa, where he'll be a fine bowler in South Africa. He's got brilliant attributes. There's no doubt in getting away from his technical attributes and why he makes the ball bounce, why he can hit really consistent areas. And then you're into an Ashes series that you don't know what the pitches will be, but you know that if you get a pitch with a bit of movement, Ollie Robinson's your best bowler at extracting that movement. And then what will he be, 33, 34 next time the English summer comes around? England have then got a choice of whether they want to rebuild a new bowling attack going forward, or they want to just keep dipping Ollie Robinson in and out for pitches that suit him. Because, you know, there's no doubt that you get him on Lords on a nipper, or here with a brand new ball. He's our best bowler at making use of those sort of conditions. And it's hard to have this conversation without the frustration of thinking, what would he have been like at Perth, Brisbane, MCG, that nipped all over the place, or certainly did nip, because he's a bowler that hits really good areas. He wasn't not there because of talent and skill and being able to plonk the ball on the top or stump. He was there because he'd burnt too many bridges in the England team to have the trust that he would be able to deliver under pressure.
Okay, well, let's assume then that the bridges have all been put back together. Let's look at what makes him such a terrific bowler. These are the 2 wickets from today. I mean, I'm not entirely sure as a left-handed opening batter that I would have been able to do a great deal about.
So updating McDonaldson
test match in England, and you get that.
How tiny will it be then?
And you go back over the wicket and
it would be the new stone, wouldn't it?
And then you're talking about his
with the yellow counter,
right round the wicket, setting the toe, nipping the ball back from around the wicket with a little wobble seam.
Yeah,
bring the
it's still closed.
I would suggest that's unplayable.
No one knows.
You might get an inside edge on it if you're a bit
lucky,
but I think it's pretty unplayable. And then Charles done by a clever bit of tactics, really, bowling around the wicket.
We haven't even seen the update of this Popeyes yet.
We don't care about Popeyes, we ain't going to, aren't we?
To be able to deliver that ball,
But it'll make life easy for me.
No, it wouldn't, because we have a wing eat.
You don't know how much it's going to swing. You don't.
You've been to Popeyes loads.
So when you don't know exactly how much it's going to swing, what lines you started on. So to be able to get it on that perfect sort of middle line, pitch it in line and hit the stumps, is huge credit. The amount of times we see a bowler go for the
so that will make life easy for me.
It's just a chicken fillet burger shop.
He's a bowler that knows.
Come on, it's going to be better fitted
exactly what he's looking to do. Right?
KFC.
He knows
Probably is, in all
and I
fairness.
think England can look at him know what his strengths are and use him in the right test matches in the right conditions.
Let's have a look at one of the great strengths that he has. Is the fact that he lets go of the ball and is able to land the ball from a very high release point and be able to get the ball down onto a very full length. I mean, this is something that marks him out from the rest of England's attack. I mean, even Jofra Archer, who you would say probably has a pretty high action, isn't releasing the ball from as high or from wide of mid-crease as Ollie Robinson does.
Yeah, we talk about the height of the release and actually the consistency of finding the top of off stump for Ollie Robinson is because he has a very short stride pattern when he lands. So I think of Glenn McGrath as being very similar. When they land at the crease, the front foot strikes, that space for a tall man is very small, very short. So it gives him great control. It allows him to get extra height as well, because if you have a long stride pattern
Okay, so this Chick-fil-A will be big then.
You lose a bit of height just from the length of your stride. And if it's long, you lose a bit of control to be able to control it. So yeah, that's a great advantage to his. It doesn't necessarily help generate a huge amount of pace, but we don't need a lot of pace from Ollie Robinson. We need that 80 miles an hour to be maintained throughout 5 days, but we're not looking for him to bowl 85 miles an hour and rip out the tail. We're looking for him to be very consistent.
So in the future, it's all just going to be
over 5 days of test match cricket and
delivery area,
the strike pattern that he's got.
And then the rest is just a restaurant.
The sort of length that he's able to find.
What is this? What is it with delivery now? Got their own delivery area.
The full length mark, and he's basically either right on the very edge at the top end of that or beyond it. So being able to maintain that sort of length, and of course, given a brand new ball, extract movement makes life very difficult for batters.
Yeah, and have the experience and the skills to be able to adjust to certain pitches and conditions, right? You know, there's movement on this Headingley pitch, as there was at Lords when he last played with a brand new ball. But I've also seen him bowl on pitches that are bouncing. I think about Old Trafford, and he's able to then drag his length back a little bit, yes, with movement, but drag his length back to bring in the sort of hip height, straight back nip. So
have you ever been as full as that, as consistently as that?
I mean, that is great advantages for a tall bowler. He can hit the stumps as well, get brave up onto length, and because he's got such good control of this sort of area, he doesn't need to bowl there all the time. If you bowl there all the time, a batter will get in the right positions and be able to navigate that. If you can hammer into this area and then have the ability to go, I'm going to go a foot fuller with the wobble seam or the swing, and bring the stumps into play. Look, he's not going to hit the stumps every single ball, but he's going to make batters come forward to make them make a decision. And we often talk about Ollie Robinson's length, right? And this is a great example of where he's putting the ball. But it doesn't matter what length you bowl if your line is wrong, because the batter can just leave it or cut the ball or drive the ball. But actually, his line is so impeccable that if it nips either way, you can bring the outside edge in. If it nips away, if it nips back in, you're bringing the stumps into play. So yeah, he's a hugely consistent performer now. Yes, we haven't seen much of him in an England shirt and conditions in more recent times. You think about Lords, where it nipped all over the place. Here it's moved, but if it does move, there's probably one bowler you want to throw the ball to in England, and that's it.
That movement doesn't just come from the pitch, does it? Because you'll have other bowlers on a similar surface not being able to get it off the straight. What is it that he's able to do in terms of manipulating the ball out of his fingers to get that movement either back in, swing it if he wants to, wobble seam, etc.?
I think the wobble seam for him, I thought it was evident today actually as well, where his wobble seam is just moving a little bit. So the seam is wobbling left to right, and we're talking half an inch. Actually, today when I watched Jofra Archer and Gus Atkins, theirs was almost a scrambled seam, a cross seam. So with it just moving a little bit, because there's a bit of moisture in the pitch, if it catches the edge, what you're looking to with the wobble seam, you're looking to catch the edge, bit of leather, bit of seam, and the seam gets into the surface, and that makes the ball nip. You see how it's wobbling, just that perfect amount, really. If you're scrambling it a huge amount, you're hoping for a bit of luck that it hits the seam. It just doesn't just hit the sunshine side and skid on. So it's got that perfect amount of wobble for this surface, and you know that's what's helping him move the ball. And I would say he's a seam bowler. I don't look at Ollie Robinson and go, he's a swing bowler, but he's got the ability, if he feels conditions are suiting, to be able to throw a swing delivery in, you know, 2 or 3 times a spell, which then makes his wobble seem more dangerous.
One of the things that talk about Ollie Robinson a lot, and we've gone against him perhaps in the past, and particularly with the Stokes McCullum regime, has been pace, isn't it? Let's have a look at the average pace today. It's certainly no hindrance to the sort of movement and the sort of accuracy that he has. In fact, accuracy-wise, it probably helps him, but he's way below the likes of Tung Atkinson and Archer. But as you say, he's able to extract movement and ask more questions of batters' defensive techniques on a more regular basis.
Yeah, and that doesn't bother me at all. You know what you're getting from Ollie Robinson. What you want, though, is if this was a graphic of 5 days, you need that to stay relatively consistent. You can't have that really dropping off, because Ollie Robinson, I think it was the Test match in India that he played with when the keeper was stood up and it was down at 75, 76.
But not just
comprehensive, gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed. We'll hope to see a bit more of Ollie Robinson in due course as we go throughout the first day of the series here at Headingley. We've had that rain after 9 overs and 4 balls, and Robinson has picked up those 2 wickets with Pakistan 23-for-2. That is the area where the rain has been coming from. It looks marginally brighter, although it might get a little bit more in due course. The mop-up operation has begun, and the ground staff are doing their utmost to get things as ready for play as quickly as they possibly can, providing we have no further interruptions with any rain showers. So 23-for-2. Joe Root won the toss and asked Pakistan to bat today. England's new captain having a second go at it. Last Wednesday, Mike Clapton went down to Cardiff to speak to him.
Joe, when you stepped away from the England captaincy first time around, you said you had an unhealthy relationship with it. Why are you putting yourself through it again?
Well, first and foremost, I think the landscape is very different now. You look back at that time, we've just sort of coming out the other side of COVID, and as a team, we'd spent 20-odd games in those kind of environments. And if I'm being brutally honest, I think having to do that for so long, it wasn't really the in-game stuff that wore me down. It was the stuff that surrounded it, and being involved in things that weren't what you'd normally expect to be involved in as an England captain. I think they sort of bled into everything else, and it got to a point where I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I wasn't getting the best out of myself. Certainly wasn't getting the best out of the players, but I also think that was a byproduct of having to live the way that we were living for such a long period of time. You marry that up with playing India twice and Australia as well. Within that period, it makes things very difficult, and it got to the point where it was time for someone else to take over. And the last 4 years have been probably 4 of the most enjoyable of my career. I got to see the game slightly differently, look at it through a different lens, which once you've captained, you do look at the game slightly differently afterwards. And I feel in a really unique position now where I have that experience. Not many people get a chance to do it again. The world is a very different place. I've 4 years more experience, a lot more games under my belt. Work with Brendan and Baz in a slightly different capacity, and feel really ready for the challenge that lies ahead.
We'll come on to how you might do things differently, but are you confident you won't get damaged again by the experience, if that's the right term?
Yeah, I mean, unless we find ourselves in another pandemic. No, I think things are very different now, and how I manage my way through that will be very different as well.
Is it out of a sense of duty that you're doing this again because you've been asked to do it, or is there a real desire to have a second crack at it?
I think there's just pure excitement by where we currently sit. I think we've been underwhelming with our performances, but you look at the talent that lies within that team. You look at bowling attack, for example, and the start that those individuals have had, and the impact they can make on Test matches and Test cricket. That's a really exciting group to be working with, and to have a variety of pace, different skill, different sort of release points and angles to be able to operate with that is very exciting. And feel like there's a lot of good stuff that we've done over the last 4 years, and probably been slightly overshadowed by our performances in the recent past. But I don't think there's a huge amount that has to be done, or certainly not drastically. It's more being quite cute and tweaking things and building on a lot of good stuff that's been laid over that period of time.
You did one match at the Oval. Was there anything that happened in that game that gave you second thoughts about wanting to have a crack at the captaincy again? Because you were dealt a pretty poor hand in that game, but clearly it didn't go well.
No, but as you mentioned, there was a lot to contend with that week for everyone involved and all the players. And I think when you find yourself in amongst chaos, you do learn a lot about each other. And I thought the way that the lads handled themselves around the game was exceptional. And now I wouldn't say anything put me off throughout that week. You know, there was a lot of changes and a lot of differences with everyone to contend with, and we just didn't manage certain elements of the game as well as we might have. And some of that was down to inexperience, some of that was down to the quality of New Zealand as well, and us not being able to respond to that. And I think they're all lessons that you take on board, you know, both personally and collectively, so that you're better for it if you find yourself there again down the line.
And before that game, you said that you were really excited to work with Brendan McCullum as coach. That lasted one game. Is that a disappointment that it only lasted one game for you, that chance to work with him?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was gutted when I found out Brendan was no longer going to be the Test coach. He's someone that I feel has really got the best out of me personally. I love the way he sees the game, and the way that he's opened my eyes up to looking at it slightly differently, even after 120 odd games or whatever it was by the time he took over. So I feel like he's a brilliant coach. I'm very glad that we still get to work together in the white ball stuff, and you know, someone that I owe a huge amount to. Yeah, I've become pretty close with it over that period of time as well. So I think they're doing brilliant stuff in the white ball teams, and you know, I wish him all the very best in that.
That said, you got a chance to work with Stephen Fleming. What excites you about him and that opportunity?
We've crossed paths a bit over the last few years when he's coached different teams around the world, but someone I've always admired. He was one of the when I used to watch Channel 4, watch you and your team play, and you know, New Zealand would tour and he'd come over as the opposition captain. He's someone that I really did admire, and the way that he's always held himself as a captain first and foremost, the way he played, and then you know, his record as a coach has been exceptional, albeit in T20 cricket. He's had to manage some very experienced environments. He's been in high pressure situations and has got a huge amount of success with a lot of the teams that he's been involved with. So to get to work with someone with that amount of experience, 100 games as a Test captain as well, understands what the role takes from a personal point of view, but also is very calm, has a really good way around, from my experience already around the group, and when you speak to other guys that have worked with him, creates a brilliant environment for the lads to thrive in. So there's so much that I'm looking forward to in that respect.
Were you consulted about his appointment?
I had a good conversation with him. I didn't necessarily think
Can you
that
give me a
it
bit
would
of
be
a pen and
right
paper,
for
Charlie?
me to be
No, a
involved
pen.
in that decision. It was for him to choose his captain, and the fact that that's what he wanted really excited me as well. And the fact we're very aligned on a lot of things, I think it's a really good starting point and base for us to work from.
Since you stepped away as England captain for the first time, obviously we've had 4 and a bit years of Bazball, so-called. A change, really, a transformational change around the England team, both for good and in some ways not so good. What are the bits of Bazball that you want to keep in your second crack as England captain?
I want to keep the always looking to move the game forward, but it's got to fit with the situation you find yourself in. I think one thing that Baz did was he took away a lot of fear. I feel like there was periods where guys played with fear, especially batting. At no point should you ever feel like that as a player. Always looking at how you can affect the game, how you can take wickets, but it's the method of how you go about that. It doesn't have to happen you can't always win a game in half an hour. You might have to work your way through it, go through a tricky period, absorb a lot more pressure, and take 2 hours to solve the problem to then make it easy for yourself later on. So I don't want to sort of impress a style on this team. I think Test cricket is about understanding what the game requires in each and every moment and being good enough to execute that, recognise it, and then executing that. So I think that's the one thing for me is, can we be good enough to do that? And you know, you look at the skill within that group of players, it's definitely there.
So So is that the key change that you want to make then? Perhaps what you might call situational awareness or adaptability?
Yeah, and I don't think it needs much. I think a lot of the time we did a lot of really good things, but we didn't know when to necessarily shift gear. And I think whether that be up or down, that's a small learning for us that could make a big difference.
Towards the end of your captaincy at Lords in 2021, New Zealand set your team what might have been thought of as a relatively adventurous run chase. It didn't seem you even thought about going for the runs. Will an England team under Joe Root Mark II play that situation differently?
I think again it depends on the situation of the game, but you always want to look to win first. I don't like the narrative of potentially being seen as a negative captain. I don't think that's how I play the game. If you watch me bat, it's certainly not how I go about things, and it's always about how can you get there, how can you get to where you want to get to at the end of it. If it's chasing a score down, how does that look? Can you construct a way through it? And depending on the conditions, what does that look like? So certainly we'll always look to try and win the game, but if that's not a possibility, can we sometimes find a way to get a draw?
Ben Stokes, a remarkable England captain in many ways. Well, what did you learn from him playing under him?
A lot like his playing, really. The way that he's always led from the front, whether he's a player or not. He certainly tried to do that as captain and was very successful in many ways with that. I think the clarity in terms of what was expected from the group, making sure that everyone was fully aware of what was required of them, especially at the start of his tenure, was exceptional. And he fiercely defended his players and looked after them as best he could. He's obviously a great friend of mine, someone that will stay friends beyond cricket. And of course, it's sad that he's no longer playing, but I think he's left a very good legacy as both a player and a leader.
What can you do better than him as captain?
It's a difficult question to answer. I think sometimes that's quite a personal and subjective answer, but I think more than anything is build on what a lot of the stuff that he's already done. I think ripping things up and starting again and trying to change things is not necessarily the answer. I think you want to keep a lot of the good things that have been put there, and it's just make small adjustments that over time will make big differences.
I often wondered about the person who would have to take over from Ben Stokes, that it wasn't going to be an easy challenge in the sense that he was a very charismatic leader. I'm not saying for 1 minute you're not, by the way,
yeah.
But there is a challenge there. Have you thought about that and how you're going to put your own imprint back on the team? It needs to be Joe Root's team again and not Ben Stokes' team, doesn't it? How are you going to do that?
By being myself. And I think the hardest thing for me will be people's opinion of how I captained 4 years ago. And I think it's very important to remember, and for me to remember more than anything, is I'm a completely different player to what I was 4 years ago. I've had 4 more years of experience in a very different environment, which has opened my eyes up in many different ways. And I mean, even you as a broadcaster or pundit, you'd be a very different commentator to what you were the first time you did it, or even 4 years ago. You're always evolving, you're always learning, and the reason I've played 160 test matches is because I have that mindset and mentality of, as a player, I've always looked to evolve and move my game forward, and I don't see this as any different. And to be honest, when you make mistakes and when you get things wrong, you look at yourself and I don't want to make that mistake again, and you learn from it and you deal with it differently next time round. So the fact that I've got all of that experience in the bank and I've been there before, I think is a massive bonus, and it shouldn't be a hindrance. And I hope people don't see it like that. I hope they see it as a massive upside to getting the chance to do it again.
You talked about not many people get the chance to do it again. You must have thought about lots that went on in that 4-year period. Are there specifics that you've thought about and said to yourself, if that situation arises again, I'm going to do it differently?
Yeah, and some of which I'll keep to myself, and others, I mean, I don't want to keep going on about COVID, but COVID, I ended up being involved in conversations that anyone captain should have been. And you end up taking on jobs and responsibility that aren't yours to deal with. And, that then impacts the rest of everything that you do. and I also am fully aware that that was a very unique set of circumstances where no one had been there before, no one had any experience in it, and you're sort of all living in the moment and trying to do your best to get through in whatever walk of life you're in. But I think understanding what is required of me as England captain and being able to delegate the rest of the stuff to other people and having that as my pure focus, making sure that the playing staff and that coaching group have my full attention and energy, so that we can go and commit to what we think is the best way to go and win test matches.
Fourth day at Trambridge against New Zealand, Ben Stokes' kind of retirement day. I felt that showed, in fact, the worst of Bazball, that England played very self-indulgently. Do you agree with that?
Well?
Yeah, it was a very frantic day.
You get some more done at the same time.
In many ways as well.
You dope your pants.
And again, I think there was certain things that, Ben going out and opening the batting, and you get everyone on the boundary, and it worked. So you've got to rein it back in and take the option. If you end up that day 70 for 9 or 70 for 1, all of a sudden that's a stroke of genius, and you very much game on and in the driving seat going into day 5. So the way that it unfolded was obviously not like that, but there was there was clear method in what was trying to be achieved. It's just we didn't even stick to that and execute that, and whether that was down to the occasion and everything that was happening around it, who knows exactly. But it's frustrating because again, that 4 years, as someone that's lived it and had so much joy and played in so many amazing games and successful series and moments, you don't want it to be remembered for that, because I don't think it's really a fair reflection of Ben as a leader, Brendan as a coach, and what that team achieved over that period of time.
Can I ask about Jofra Archer? There's a widespread feeling that's been expressed by many that you didn't necessarily handle Jofra brilliantly in your first spell. First of all, do you agree with that?
I think it's understanding when you've got such an amazing talent how to handle that. You look at the attack that we had then. We had a number of extremely high-skilled bowlers, but we're all very similar. Chris Wokes, Stuart Broad, Jimmy Anderson, they offered very similar attributes. And all of a sudden, Jofra Archer bowls 90 mile an hour, he swings it in, he's got a high release point, and it's very effective and looks like a very dangerous option on facet surfaces. So I think at times maybe I did over-bowl him and overuse him.
He's on the quick.
He's
going to say, Keegan pass. Keegan pass. Keegan pass, just like his mummy told him he would.
There are other people that can potentially play a role that I might have used Jofra for in the past. I believe he's a generational talent and someone that is going to have to go on and produce wonderful things for England across the formats, but in Test cricket is capable of doing some wonderful things. So I didn't get everything right first time round, and I made mistakes, but he's going to be a really important factor of what we do moving forward, and very excited to work with him again in that space, and someone I get on really well with, got a great relationship. He's my son's favourite player as well, so there's pressure from there, but no, it'd be good to get going just in general really, but to work with Jofra again in that space is going to be fun.
Where does Harry Brook fit into all this? Rob Key, when he announced you as England captain for the second time, said Harry Brook's not ready. In what way is Harry Brook not ready?
I think that's Rob's opinion, and it's his job to make those calls. But Harry's is a phenomenal player, phenomenal talent, and is already becoming a fantastic leader in the white ball space. To be officially captain, it doesn't mean you can't lead. So I think he's going to have an integral role within this Test team in that space, and whether that's through how he performs out on the field in terms of his runs and leading by example in that element, tactically being there for me as well on occasions, and giving me someone to bounce ideas off, or just even the way he conducts himself around training and around the group. So I think he's already formidable in that space, but I look forward to working with him in that capacity as well. And the fact that we get on so well as mates away from the game, and we understand each other's games very well, and we'll be working alongside each other in the red and white ball, so I think it's a good thing for England's cricket team.
You talked earlier about not kind of getting sucked into areas that you don't want to get sucked into. In that regard, then with Harry, is it part of your role to bring him on, as it were, or have you just got too much on your plate for that kind of stuff?
I think more than anything is you want to encourage as many of those guys around you to feel like they can maybe help move this team forward. As a captain, it's important that people understand what you expect of them, but you also want to allow them to grow as players and to fulfill their potential throughout their career. And part of your evolution as a player is becoming more senior and is taking more responsibility in certain areas. So if you can help that happen over a period of time, then great. But the fundamental focus is what's going to get the best out of this group. And as an individual, Harry being a strong leader will help us and aid us. So I'm sure that he'll work towards that and give as much as he can in that space around the rest of his game.
Can I ask about curfews? This is your team now. It seems to me that the management have got themselves in a horrible muddle with curfews and whether the team can drink or can't drink. What are you going to do about a curfew?
There's not going to be a curfew, and I don't think this needs to be a big deal, to be honest. My view on curfews is I don't think they work, and if you want guys to take responsibility on the field, they've got to feel like they can be grown adults off it and make good, strong decisions off it, and that's for us as a team to manage well and self-police well, for me and Flem to manage well in many ways, but ultimately you're grown adults, you know what it takes to play for England, you know what your responsibilities are off the field, and we need to make sure we don't find ourselves with any of those situations off the field to manage around what should be. We should be known for how we play our cricket and what we do on the field, and we should be on the back page of papers and people reading about that sort of stuff. So, that's as much as I've got to say on it. That's be adults, look after yourselves, look after each other, create a good, strong culture where you know when the right time is to celebrate and enjoy a win, or to have a sensible beer or whatever, and remember you're playing for England.
That's music to my ears, at least. In that sense, I mean, I always felt that the curfew was the last resort of a management that had kind of lost control of the situation. I mean, it sounds like you agree.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. That's where it sits with me. I think we have an opportunity to look after that well now, and to conduct ourselves in a way that respects that, understands it, and I don't want people to feel like they can't enjoy winning a test match. And if they want to have a beer, or there's at the right time go and let their hair down, then that's absolutely fine. You're human beings at the end of the day. You know what your responsibilities are. You know how you need to prepare for a test match and what it takes, and the effects that these things can have on you. So be smart, be sensible, and just be an adult about it.
Can I ask about the potential risks of taking on the job again? You've enjoyed a golden run with the bat for the last 4 years. I mean, it's been a golden 15 years, but particularly the last 4 years. Is there any risk attached that at 35, by taking on the job again, that might potentially impact upon your returns as a batsman?
I don't see the correlation there. I mean, I did at the start of the first time I did it. I do think it had an impact on me after the initial couple of sort of honeymoon period, if you like. But you look at the end of my time as captain. I think that's the best I've ever batted against India, that home series, or double 100 in India and one in Sri Lanka that winter as well. A couple 100 in the West Indies, so that I felt like I had a really good grasp and understanding of how I wanted to score my runs, how I was going to break down different teams. I'd gone away and understood what felt I needed to do to get the best out of myself, and constantly tried to evolve that over the last little while. And I think Baz, working with Baz and the coaching staff that we've had, have managed to keep doing that. So I don't see that being any different. If I could go and 1,500 runs that year, I could do that with COVID and everything else that was going on around that time. I think we'll be all right.
What does success in this second go look like for you? First of all, how long term are you looking? Do you see this as a short term thing, medium term thing, or is it open ended?
Yeah, I haven't put a time on it. I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do. I think you're always looking at a potential end, or are you going to get there, or whatever. So there's never the way I've looked at anything. I've never been one for having a something to aim for runs wise as a batter, or an amount of games to play or anything like that. So the success I see is an evolution of this team, and as I say, taking what I think there are so many good things and so many good elements to what we've already got, making small adjustments that can make big differences. All round there's a lot to be excited about, but in particular that seam attack, I can't wait to see them go and do their business. There's a lot to be excited about there, and it could be a serious force to be reckoned with if we get things right in the next little while.
You're not yet an Ashes winning captain. Was that an itch that you had to scratch again? Is it all about 2027 Ashes and the chance to join a select group of England captains?
I feel like having known you for so long and you knowing me for so long, you've not really grasped my personality yet. Those personal things are not really a massive motivate for me. I think it's the collective things and what you could achieve as a group that they're the things that spur me on. And at 35 actually now, they're the drivers now that really keep me going. The fact you can have a lasting impact on a group of players, help build something, set something up that long term has sustainability and consistency, that's what I want to achieve from this, to really see us grow as a group of players and become our potential more than anything.
And if in a year's time your mate Ben texts you and says Ashes, LOL, what are you going to say?
Oh, I don't know. Well, let's get there first.
Good luck. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Well, Joe was speaking with Michael last Wednesday in Cardiff. He's back in charge as England's Test captain, and small sample size, but he started pretty well after 9 overs and 4 balls of his first Test match against Pakistan here at Headingley. Pakistan are 23 for 2, but we had a very heavy rain shout, which the ground staff have dealt with, cleared all the covers off, save for the one on the pitch. That is because potentially there's another smaller one on the way. What they're going to do, though, is have an inspection at 1:30 at local time. The players have taken lunch. That started at 12:30. So hopefully that shower misses us. We can get back underway with Pakistan 23 for 2. But DK and Nasser are with me to have a conversation about what we've just heard when Michael was in conversation with Joe Root. What did you take from that interview, Nasser?
Well, typical Joe Root. Always made it about other people, not interested in personal statistics or looking too far ahead, but also respectful for the people he's just taken over from. One, obviously, Ben Stokes, because he was an exceptional captain, but also because they're best of mates. So don't be disrespectful, because your previous captain, as I had to do with Michael Atherton or Alex Stewart or whoever, would have a unique, different set of circumstances, as Joe knows himself. The last time he gave it away, or was taken from him, was COVID, had been captain during COVID and all the things that he had to do. So it's a unique situation that McCullum and Stokes found themselves in when they took over. And I think you do have to be respectful. I said that to you down there this morning, that it's this image of Bazball being a massive failure. We've got to remember how successful it was to start. Not just the brand and style and how exciting it was to watch, but they won games of cricket. Now, towards the end, they didn't win important series. They never beat India home or away in a series. They didn't win the Ashes home or away in a series. They've lost 7 of their last 9. There were problems off the field. But Joe will never, being Joe Root, he'll never criticise that. He'll put that away and realise what they've got to improve on, the areas that he needs to improve on to make England a winning side. He doesn't want to talk about the brand and style, because there's been too much talk of that. He wants to make England a winning side again.
How does he take the best bits of the McCullum-Stokes era and tweak it? Because it sounds quite straightforward. Oh, look, they do some great stuff. Well, if we just do something a little bit different over here, then we're back on the right track and everything will be great. That's easier said than done, surely.
It was a tale of two halves. I think the first half was something that was new to English cricket, the way they approached it, the style in which they got along with it. And I think they got too obsessed with style. You need substance in terms of results going your way for style to be accepted, and I think they were so driven by how it looked rather than what the end result was. We're always judged on results. It's as simple as that. In sport, that is what dictates the whole reason as to why for ages it's been what it is, because you are judged on results. You can play as stylishly, as good looking, as effective, but the fact is that at the end of the day, you need to be in the green. And a lot of the times, I think England were found wanting with their style of play. You must say that it was very attractive. You know, obviously it brought crowds in. It made people watch TV. It obviously brought back an element of excitement to Test cricket, which was probably lacking from the previous regime. But if you don't add results to it, which they did in the first half, and that's why it became even more entertaining to watch, and it was fun. When you don't add results to it, like anything else, it looks reckless, and we've seen this a lot of times with batters as well. When they get going, we feel, wow, great shots. But when you get out playing something silly, you're like, what are you thinking? And that's exactly what happened in their second half in their last 2 years. I think they got so obsessed with how they want to do it rather than win a game of cricket when they had their foot on the throat, which I think they will regret. They might not accept it publicly, but I'm sure they would regret it.
Sport is a results business, I accept that, but is it still fair to say, and to reiterate what Ben, Brendan and Rob Key said initially at the start of all of that process, that we are also in the entertainment business. We want to entertain the crowd. We want the players to come into a dress room which is fun and forward thinking. Our viewing figures during that period were up 24%. Yeah, completely agree with everything that DK has just said. But are they still in an entertainment business? Entertain the fans out here?
Yeah, but the two aren't mutually exclusive. You look at the great sides, not all of them, but most of them, the great West Indian sides were a very attractive side to watch, and they won.
Not from 22 yards.
They won, not from the other end, but they won. You look at the Australian sides, captained by Ponting and Steve Waugh, and the tempo they batted once Gilchrist came in that middle order, and Hayden, etc. Very exciting with Shane Warne bowling at one end. Nothing more exciting in the game of cricket. Again, not from 22 yards away, but they won. The England side that went to number one in the world was slightly different. The one under Strauss and Flower, they were a bit more accumulative and stay in the game. And that's the side I look back on, and the point that DK makes about situation and being in good situations and not seeing it through. That's the frustration for me. You ask what they got to tweak. That's what they've got to tweak for me. There have been a number of occasions in recent times where England have been ahead. You go back to Perth Day 2, you go to the Oval against India when Harry Brooks 150 not out. There's a lot of occasions in Australia against Australia at Lords when Lyons hobbled off with his hamstring torn, and Australia didn't know what to do apart from the bouncer ploy, and the obvious thing to do was not to hook with 5 men out. What did they all do? Hook with 5 men out. And that's because, and I've always said this, the greatest side, one of the greatest batting lineups England had in that Flower, Strauss, Cook era was full of situational players, Strauss, Cook, Trott, Bell, Collingwood, and one personality player, which every side needs, Kevin Peterson. This side, or the previous side, had a lot of personality players. People who just went out and that's the way I played, and even the one situational player they had in Joe Root, he changed, and then suddenly when that's not for me, I'm going to go back, and he did go back, and he put the scoop away, and his runs. The other one actually is Ben Stokes, and the reason Ben Stokes' batting fell away for me, apart from a couple of technical things, was that when he first came in, if you remember as captain, he wanted to show the team how to play, charging down the field, putting it off, smashing it over the top. Mark Woodson was questioning him at presentation about how he's going to play. And actually, I think Ben's stats fell away because he was one of our great situational players. Remember the knock here against Australia, the way he played. He read situations so well that because he said, this is the way I want my team to play, he almost lost that capability. And in the end, Ben Stokes didn't know whether to stick or twist. And it was ironic, in his last innings, he went out, opened the batting, as I said in that interview, smashed them to a point where he should have read the situation and said, now we've got all the field back, now we knock it around, and we ask New Zealand, what are you going to do? Remember that sign when Harry Brook went down to scoop and Mitch Santner ran past him going, what are you doing? That was the situation where England needed to say, we've done the job now, now what are you going to do, New Zealand? And they didn't. They keep going, Perth, 100 ahead, 1 down. Just read the situation, lads. Knock it around and say to Australia, what are you going to do now? And that's the frustrating. And that, you ask DK, what do England need to do better? When they got ahead of the game and they got it in the palm of their hands, be ruthless, be more ruthless.
So they still have personality players on this side. batsmen I'm thinking about primarily, someone like Duckett, someone like Harry Brook. Under the previous regime, Duckett, Brook, it was pretty obvious what was required. Is it now up to Duckett and Brook to read the situations?
That's
if they do want
inside
to
the
go and put their
big
foot on the
square
gas,
box.
do you think they will be backed in the same
Do you
way
know the
as
bit?
they were before?
That
Or
weird
could
green
it lead
bit.
to
They're
some
in the green.
insecurities?
So they're in the green bit,
I'm
aren't
not
they?
quite sure how to go out and play.
First
Yeah,
of all,
that's
I
the
will make
green
you ask
stuff.
me this
The
question
green
because
weird
everything
box.
about sports is adaptive. You know, you're given a pitch, you need to go out there and find a way to score runs. Now, everyone has a method. Now, Harry Brook is a lot more aggressive. He believes that if the pitch is doing a bit, then probably I need to step out and hit over covers because that puts the length away from the bowlers. I'm putting pressure back on him. Duckett would say, I'm going to use the scoop the odd time to make him think, okay, what am I going to do? Now, as a coach, when I look at it, if they are doing things that is good for the moment, that's going to help us get ahead in the game, you're very accepting of it. Now, if they're doing it recklessly, what would reckless mean? You have the game in your hand and you're not ruthless enough to say, now I don't need to step out and hit those covers because the field is spread, they're giving me the single, they don't feel like they're going to get me out, why should I do that? Now, if you do it beyond that, that basically means I want to do it my way because nobody's going to question me. And as a coach, you need to be firm about what you say, but very fair in your approach to any play. If Duckett is playing a lap because that's the best way for him to get runs, the situation feels that it's okay for him to do it, by all means go ahead and do it. And that's the same for Emilio King, and that's the same for Ollie Pope when he comes back into play. You make sure you're using your strengths to put pressure on the opposition. Now, whether you'll be accepted or not is definitely the role of the coach, and that should be a precedent that's set straight at the start, saying we will be very acceptant of the method that you approach with, depending on the situation. And that's not something you sit down and talk to the player. It's very well understood. And that's how you win test matches. Now, Ricky Ponting, when he was batting on 150, I just was watching a highlight yesterday, and he said he was so upset he got out on 197 because he threw his hands at one and got caught a coin, because he said, my process was only, I was thinking about the boundary than thinking, okay, this is what I need to do. So he got caught up with the result. So a small little thing like that, and he was on the back of 3 ducks against Pakistan when he did it. So that is attitude to batting. It was about him making merry when he was doing well. Small little things like that, but that ruthless attitude is what makes you great. And I do feel that England has the potential to be an extremely good test team. And for them to achieve that, they need to be ruthless in situations when they get on top of an opponent.
But for them to be an extremely good, successful test team, you sort of got to balance the side. Is that one of Joe and Stephen Fleming's biggest challenges going forward with no Ben Stokes?
Yeah, I mean, any side, if you take Ben Stokes out of it, we've seen in other formats, white ball formats, they've still struggled to fill that gap. They're getting towards it now, but in Test match cricket, of course, you know, he gets inside as a bowler. When most part of his career, not recently, he was getting to the side as a batter, a brilliant slip fielder, a brilliant tactician. So you're losing so many things there, and as we're seeing already, I mean, if this was a green seamer, or if it was actually a big spinning pitch, how do you get Bashir into the side? Sure, Bashir's stock is dwindling because there's no, on the driest summer that we've had, you know, you should be playing your frontline spinner really, and Bashir can't get in simply because they can't balance the side. Now, whether Sam Curran, they did say, Marcus North did say that if Sam Curran had been fully fit, he would have come in as that 4th seamer. So you leave one of your seamers out, you play Curran as your all-rounder in that Stokes role, and then you can play a spinner. So that is always going to be a difficult. But listen, that's happened all over time. Whether it be from Botham to Flintoff to Stokes, whoever. When you lose a great all-rounder, that makes it very difficult. You're losing 2 cricketers, but you've only got 1 space that you can fill. So that's going to be tricky. I always think also the infatuation of like the Ashes. You know, Af asked about the Ashes. I do think just concentrate on the present, concentrate on today, concentrate on beating Pakistan. Then Stephen Fleming will be really in charge. How are you going to win in South Africa? You know, South Africa World Test champions, very good cricketing side, especially at home. What are the sort of balance of the side you're going to need there? So don't always be obsessed with something a year down the line, the Ashes. Think about it, because that's where they went wrong in the last Ashes. They went out there with exactly the same sort of plans that you had to win previous Ashes away from home, and didn't read the conditions that they'd been warned about by Stephen Smith himself. You don't need express pace in Australia, you need skill. And we've seen a lad here today bowl with skill and broad.
Did you know who's
that
gone?
thing in the lab. That lad was playing grade cricket in Australia. While we were being bowled out by 80 mile an hour speeds with the keeper standing up.
What getting played?
Is that what was McCullum's line? Live for today, but plan for the future. In the last regime, there was a lot of living for today. They forgot to plan for the future. So get that balance right a little bit. Win the games that are in front of you, but just keep one eye on what's coming ahead.
Stephen Fleming has spent the last couple of decades really at IPL, so you've seen how he operates very closely. What will he bring?
He's a good man manager. I think he is one of those coaches who allows the captain to take a lot of calls. You've got to understand their partnership is probably one of the most successful ones, the Dhoni-Fleming partnership. Not as young as Dhoni has
York Knight.
I think the Bruce is a very different captain. You will need a bit of hand-holding.
We'll only have a few minutes to see what Fitzpatrick says.
I'm convinced that there will be scars from the past that he will be carrying. Is he going to remedy a lot of what he did was what he believed was wrong in this regime? Or is he going to just start afresh, which is very easy to say but very hard to do. A lot of the times when the game is on the line, when there are things that you are thinking which way to go, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of help from the likes of Flem and Brook as well. From what I'm hearing, Brook is somebody he looks to quite a bit in terms of strategy as well. So I believe it's going to be an interesting challenge. I also heard him come out and say one of the reasons why I took up captaincy this time is because Stephen Fleming is the coach. I don't know what that means basically. I don't know if they work together. But it's good that that partnership hopefully flourishes for England.
Well, this is the inspection that we were told would take place at 1:30. Encouraging signs. 1:45 start. So in 15 minutes we'll be back underway. Pakistan 23 for 2 after 9 overs and 4 balls. But we might have another shower on the way in a little bit, or we wait and see. Sorry, you were going to carry on.
I'm just going to ask DK a question. I mean, one of the things obviously Stephen Fleming lacks in his CV is red ball coaching. You're into coaching now, so do you think there's a big difference? Coaching just coaching, or do you think that's a big gap that Fleming needs to fill, that he hasn't done any red ball coaching?
I do think there is a difference between white ball coaching and red ball coaching. But the fact that he's been a very successful captain for New Zealand and he's played a lot of tests will keep him in good stead. But definitely there is a difference between working with white ball, especially if you're involved in it from a tactical and technical standpoint. There is a massive difference in both red and white ball. Red ball is obviously you can bring in a lot of strategy to the game, but also I do think you need to be involved and be hands-on with your specialist coaches, the bowling coaches, the batting coaches. For example, we are constantly speaking about Ollie Robinson bowling late 70s. What is it that is going to take for him to be in the just early 80s so that he can make a difference when they tour outside as well? I heard you discuss whether he can be just used as horses for courses, but I don't know whether that's probable and possible. But what will it take? So how can you push the bowling coach and the strength and conditioning person to get him in shape and keep him in shape for a long period of time? Stuff like that. And it's not going to be easy, I can tell you, because obviously Stephen Fleming has invested a lot of time across white ball cricket, across the franchise in only white ball cricket. This will be a different challenge for him. Got to understand, for about 18 years he's been away from the international game, definitely test cricket. So he'll find his feet as well. It's going to take some time.
Do you think he will allow the players to empower how they train? The accusation in the previous regime was there was a bit of negativity if ex-player said, look, I want to go and have an extra net session, or I want to go and see someone else. And that's probably fair enough to a point. Do you think Fleming will be a coach that will say, if Ollie Pope, as an example, wants to go and work with his childhood coach, which he's said in an article the other day in the Telegraph that he's done, do you think that will be cool with him?
I think so. Knowing Flem, I think he's someone who is very open to those kind of things. Though there is you will find a lot of similarity between Ben and Flem. I do feel that because they're from the same country, even though they feel like different personalities, I do feel their vision towards coaching is very similar. Empower the players, let them go out there and be the best version of themselves.
Which is exactly what Brendan said to me when I asked him that question. He said Fleming's a bit like me, but better. In terms of what Joe does with his captaincy, Ben Stokes on the Michael Vaughan's podcast said one of the things he wished he'd done, looking back, is perhaps farm off some of the responsibility that he took upon himself as captain. Now, Joe also said that in an interview with Apples. Now, part of that was down to COVID, and we can't forget that that was a major part of the last bit of Joe Root's captaincy. Does he need to be clear that, right, Trescothick or Fleming or media manager or whoever, you need to take care of that. I'm looking at the 70% that I really need to stay in charge of.
That should just be a given for people.
But they both said the same thing.
Yeah, for Joe, a lot of that was down to COVID.
Yeah.
I remember, obviously, we had Keezy working with us, and Rob then got the job, and then Rob went to go and speak to Joe about the captaincy and whether he should carry on or not. And Rob Key said the amount he'd got from Joe Root on the amount of work he was having to do during COVID, that wasn't just captaincy work. So I think now we're back in normal times. It should just be a given that a captain turns up, and a captains aside, and all the other matters. You've got a staff of millions down there. You've got backroom staff that do anything you want. You know, I still can't believe you'll go to Australia without a fielding coach and drop X amount of. That's the sort of thing. Attention to detail that's been lacking. So that your captain can just turn up and captain the side. Obviously, you sit down with your coach and you discuss culture, you discuss players, and you're involved in selection. But really, especially our best batter that we've ever had, needs to have enough energy in him to make sure that he does. If you're asking me, and I've said this about Joe Root's captaincy from day one in 66 tests now, which is more important to me, Joe Root the batter or Joe Root the captain? Joe Root the batter. I think he's a good captain. I think he's an incredible batter. And the captaincy cannot diminish his batting. If it does, they should have gone for Harry Brook, because they'll make a mistake if the captaincy affects his batting.
Before we started it, and we were still listening to Joe speaking with actors, I asked you what you want to talk about, and it was that you worry about it. Joe averaged 46 as captain, 53 not as captain.
A little bit. Though I think the same question was posed to Joe, and as you would expect, initially he came out saying, I thought I batted at my best at the back end of my captaincy career. My worry for him is, it's all hunky-dory when the going is good. When the things get tough, and you can see one of the reasons why he would have taken a captaincy is obviously trying to make a mark of it in the Ashes. Now, in the Ashes, they require Joe Root the batter again. There's no doubt about it, because he is their best batter, and he can bat long periods of time, and he has people who obviously play a lot of shots, so he is going to be such an important cog in the wheel, and I hope he values that, knows that, and you need to have a certain amount of mental energy to be able to bat for long periods of time.
So far, small sample size, so good for Joe, because he won the toss, decided to bowl. Pakistan are 23 for 2. Both wickets going to Ollie Robinson, who found a lovely line and length and some movement. That rain has cleared, but the sun is now out, so perhaps conditions will have eased overhead, but perhaps not on the pitch. We shall see. Restart at 1:45. Pakistan 23 for 2.
Sponsors of England Summer of International Cricket on Sky.
Anyone else think this ratio's a bit off here? Yeah, that's not exactly what I meant.
Hello, you. It's not nice when you're being dined out on, is it? Soaring bills can leave you feeling that way. At Uswitch, our experts fight to get you fairer prices on your energy, broadband and mobile, keeping hungry beaks out of your pockets. Uswitch. We put you first. Energy, broadband, mobile.
Oh, what's this? Cardio Mobile, my personal ECG.
ECG?
The doctor recommended it. It can detect AFib. Look, 30 seconds. An accurate ECG. Simple.
And it goes wherever I go. Nice. That's peace of mind.
Get your personal ECG at cardiomobile.co.uk or Amazon.
It's okay. We're with the AA.
It's okay, Pinky. We're with the AA. With more dedicated patrols than everyone else put together.
We've got you, Pinky.
Helping to rescue you fast.
Let's go.
No one's stopping me. Energy, atmosphere, and a good old
Come on, sister. Saturday, the 29th of August for you and guys for football is like college.
Time to put on our Sunday's best. Get our
I'm going to run it back in a minute. I'll get him first and then you can get him after me.
I'm so far.
I know about when I do that washing.
So I can't put it in the bathroom, can I?
I'll put it back in the cricket.
Why are you trying to do both?
Put it later.
Later?
Sky Sports. Welcome to the show.
Promethean, sponsors of England's Summer of International Cricket on Sky.
It's going to be interesting Wednesday, Friday.
For England, Baseball dies where it all began.
Brendan
Bas,
McCullum has been sacked. What did you learn? What did you learn from Roman?
What's the next coach on Test Creed will be?
I think it's so exciting.
That'll be interesting. We're having one Wednesday, Friday.
Returning much to me.
Oh, we're both having one on Friday.
So what did you say for one today then?
I don't know what more. I'm just saying, of course he's having one on Friday.
What the hell's this? No.
Why Friday?
Let everything that's happened and take the positive.
Why not Friday?
Move into the next phase.
Before they get dressed.
Well, I think that's Thursday night or something.
You're seeing Curtis Jones is gone.
Do tomorrow night.
Fine. Seeing that Inter Milan I've got.
Fine, I'll do you both, and then I'll just.
No, do tomorrow, Keith.
Yes, tomorrow you both just jump in. And then you'll both have hair washes and stuff.
Fine. But if I want to be clean for results, stay, but.
What difference does it make?
Maybe he didn't want to be looking for people.
I also need you relatively clean for that, for the other meal.
For both meals, not just the one on Friday.
I'm not saying that. Well, whatever, but you might still have to have another wash.
What? What two
you?
meals?
What?
What's going on with two meals? Tomorrow on Friday. I'll have one today, then I'll have a small wash Friday morning.
Oh, great. I'm having a really early back on Friday. So you guys are getting it really early on Friday night.
We're having yours tomorrow.
I only had one yesterday on purpose because I knew I'd be having one really early on Friday morning.
Oh, tell everyone with you.
Well, I guess we're all having one tomorrow night.
Why?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Might be mine too.
I only use that stuff to freshen my hair up, not wash
So,
it.
because I'm going to have a proper one today, then a small wash Friday morning.
Why can't you just wait till tomorrow, Keith?
Because I don't want to go to school scruffy, do I?
You spent half your school career going scruffy and never having a bath.
So we've actually only lost somewhere in the region of an hour and 15 minutes of play. The afternoon session, 1:45
So this is for
20 to 5. We can
so this is how
until 5:30.
So 4:40 will be tea. Are you paying attention? So we've got 77.2 overs remaining in the day.
I'd be sad seeing any Watkins not in the Premier
Did
League.
you get all that information?
Yeah, but it hasn't been confirmed yet.
Jeez.
Just because they're talking to him doesn't mean it's confirmed that he's going.
So the afternoon session will last till 4:40 and then they'll go back on at 5 PM and they can play up till 7:30. They've lost 1 hour and 15 minutes of day one, which means it's only 77.2 overs remaining in the day.
The sun's blaring out. Why you got the floodlights on?
I don't actually know, don't ask, I don't know why they've done that. They're back underway.
So we are underway, just about to be in the afternoon session here at Leeds. England very much on top. There has been movement. There's good pace and carry from what has become and what is the best surface, I think.
23 for tours on the board.
For cricket of any type. Atkinson to Shafiq.
Back underway.
So Liverpool paid 145 million.
Much either batter could have done about either.
Yes, true.
Good, you got a feel for Azanovic. What a ball to get first up. Bang on target, cut it into the stumps. Then Shan Masood as well. Bowling around the wicket. And then he reverted to going over.
I think Curtis James is on his way out.
Absolutely plumb in front. Good start for Ollie Robinson here.
I think Curtis James is on his way out.
Here, Lawrence in hot pursuit. Can't prevent Abdullah Shafiq from getting back. 25 for 2. Pakistan from 10 overs. Bit of a shock to see the rain flood in. Certainly haven't seen very much of it in the south of the country. There's been rain at times up here in the northeast and northwest.
10 done, 25
Heavy shower
more.
at Curtail Plate. Pakistan will have to start again against the ball that is still very much new, hard and shiny.
We can see everyone's back in their seats ready for the afternoon session of day 1.
Peru and keen to have plenty of catches behind the wicket. History will tell you that keeping those catches in imperative here at Headingley.
Got fun.
I'll tell you what else history will definitely tell you is any player does an interview with you, after that the series becomes hard work for them. Ben Duckett against India, I remember, was in sparkling form till you did that.
I don't think I've got a choice but tomorrow, have I really?
And that was him done.
You're going to be going for the like it or not.
Oh, it wasn't me this time.
You got the same matter.
She's the latest.
Hey Dad, did you know
join
you
the
just
list?
learned
Join the
China?
list.
Yes.
Those of us who have
Absolutely joined you.
thought about the Sky Curse.
Do you know there's news about Willie Longtail?
His stats generally had
That
some troubles
Nottingham one.
when bowlers have bowled around the wicket. And Ollie Robinson has done it quite nicely so far. For a time when he was going over the wicket, but he's now come back around the wicket. The way he lines up, you can see he opens up.
When there's all
And anything that leaves away almost
common
completely.
sense. Because they're not a crap.
Oh!
He's okay at least.
Well, how do you know what's best for him, do ya?
Well, you do want every single player leaving.
I want to leave.
You'll be crap.
You know, at the time,
More evidence again. Not only of the full length, extremely tight line from Ollie Robinson around the wicket to the left-handers, but also
Routine, my boy.
DK was making.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to cover that off stump. Just gets a little bit closed off, has to open himself up to get the bat at the ball.
How about today?
No,
When-
not
when
today.
you get-
I meant me for tomorrow.
And then when you get shut off, and then when you get back, then just have a bath then.
So we've got 2 minutes.
So today,
going on.
Just a quick bath.
that's what I mean, like.
No, when I've been in it, can you tell me?
Yeah, but just that's got that stuff, so that 3-in-1. So we just quickly wash hair with that. It's not proper shampoo. It'll just freshen your hair up.
Do that then.
Because we've.
And then have
I
a
would
good
have
one.
thought as long as we're not troubled by R+1,
Middle of the leg.
we should be fine.
Have one.
To just turn the ball around and get it to
So we're always
leave the
pleased
left
saying
hand
that
from exactly
we're
the
always
same
late.
Yeah, but last time we were ready to be last always me up for
Well, I know,
with
but-
spoons.
Sure, Mohammad Abbas will be looking at this and licking his lips as well.
28th
Which is
of
definitely
September.
offering some seam
Do
movement.
you remember about your big debut? Let's gonna go get some ones.
Different. This is different.
Sprinkling
Completely
rain
different
doesn't
bag.
seem to have
No, they only
slowed
did
the
it once a
outfield
month,
much. It
didn't they?
wasn't out of the middle of the bat, but the
We have a game every week.
face was presented
Every
beautifully
Saturday.
on that on drive.
What?
It's got, oh, Gainsborough, keep up, child.
That shot should give
So on Friday, I've got 2 secret weapons.
No, I don't. I just
like
can't.
You
Robinson
and
do,
you.
especially to Imam when he comes
You're
back.
coming
Grandma
back.
still thinks I'll be.
Keep giving him the odd bounce.
It moves back.
That doesn't get him comfortably.
Oh, it was a video gonna be there.
Paces
Well,
a bit less,
you
but
need
still,
Charlie there.
that would
I don't know why you need him there.
Because I want him there.
Yeah, but I wouldn't.
Rafiq has looked good.
I know, of course you wouldn't.
Well, of course not.
Because you wouldn't be there.
No, it's not. It's a case of he's not going to be any use to you.
Yeah, but I'm gonna
He's
have
just
one.
trying to piss you
I'm
off.
gonna have one parent there.
I can't help it.
The tower's gonna be your replacement. The mother figure.
I'm not a fucking mother for a start.
Do your hair.
No.
Go to a lady salon, get your hair done.
I'm not a fucking woman.
Something like that, Moody Margaret.
Thanks a lot, Keith. You know, set off.
Will you like coming?
Set off, not a fucking... a dog or anything.
Well, the cricket ground's certainly in need of a sprinkle. They got one.
I got a massive sprinkle off this morning, didn't it?
We might see one or two more showers throughout the day, but Nasser is saying assures me he's the man we listen to up here when it comes to the weather.
Nasser Hussain.
Should be okay.
28 for 2 after a
Potentially until 7:30.
So we can play up to 7:30 if needs be. Or just over.
You've said that before.
Yeah, and Mark just reminded people that we can play to over 7:30.
His surname
Any changes, of course.
means he's in the wrong job.
Mark puts
his last test match.
Yeah, he's in the wrong job, isn't he?
He's been in the wrong job the whole time then.
Against New Zealand.
Are you listening to Chaffee saying that? Yeah.
Reappointed as captain for Pakistan.
I've got 2 weapons.
Kept him out.
Bowmans.
No, I'm not going, Keith.
And he's slim knobhead.
Hey.
We are slimming with me.
It's been horrible, Mum.
I'm 10 for 2.
Pakistan T20 captain is in charge for this test match.
When she played Lands in Nottingham.
It's 10 for 2 hurts.
We should head ourselves to Nottingham.
If you went to Frankie and Benny's, you would get a free starter and a free dessert.
What is it?
Oh, you're going anyway.
For your GCSE results day, cheers, cheers, class for 2026.
And England have gone with an all-pace attack plus Lawrence.
Yes.
No, class for 2026.
Oh.
Great, so that'll be...
I've got to try and pick a pub that I want to go for my meal.
On Thursday the 20th of August, bring your results with you and your voucher code below to Frankie and Benny's and enjoy a free starter and a free dessert with every main that's ordered.
Well, I'm not going there, am I? For my meal.
Frank's and Benny's just shut down a couple of really.
Yeah.
Stuff that's gone pretty bad.
Route in England
Never shut down, still open.
Yeah,
so expensive.
The leg slip as such, but a leg
Well,
slip
only shut down for
movement.
Not tomorrow, is it? Not supposed tomorrow, is it? It's free. So the results there wouldn't be expensive tomorrow, will it?
Honey?
So did the one in Lincoln, now it shut theirs down.
I mean, they're all shut down.
They were worried about the cost of football.
What's been interesting for me, Butch, is
Yeah, so you want to
three
go right
bowlers on board
into
today.
the...
We're off.
That just has been happening for the last month, or Ollie Robinson not being part of it. But if you see the average length, have a look at that. Almost a metre difference. When you play a lot of white ball cricket, you tend to pull your length back because you don't get the swing and
Oh yeah, I used to be glad to see Chick-fil-A and not
You
to
bowl
Oh my god.
They can move.
I'm sick of bloody Chick-fil-A, shut up your ass.
So one,
I
that's
bowl
another,
quite well
then
in
another.
100. But for them to adjust so quickly
Another-
to their
another-
style and get up to speed
Well,
with
come on, we
Robinson
want to see
was
No,
sure
it's
they
about
could
all the
play
chicken.
series so much more.
Expensive.
We're not
Get
Chick-fil-A.
speeds and natural
Oh no,
length
it's
slightly
leave up
fuller.
for myself to go.
For obviously that time of the day as well.
I'm gonna go back because you've got no money, have you? For society, spend some Pizza Hut.
I'm sorry that I get money for Thursday, Christmas. Also.
My birthday's for not for ages.
Delivery.
What's that?
Delivery.
It's the battle of the chicken.
Shafiq
It's
Groby.
the battle of your
12 overs gone 31 for 2.
It's right next door to trash.
trash.
McDonald's that we went in,
Really nice
you know, to
ball
go
to finish that
right
ball
next door to
Slightly
it.
fuller,
Yeah,
more
McDonald's.
clean as always.
McDonald's was trash.
Oh my god, that's not going tomorrow.
Bowling piece that you did on Ollie Robinson spoke quite nicely of the difference in bowling theme. One is the bobble theme, which is what Ollie Robinson bowls.
Is it about you?
And there's the scramble theme where it moves a little bit more and you need a little bit of luck as well.
You
Never
can't
sure.
read you.
Oh, because you don't like any Greekins, I'm gonna go to Greekin because you hate them all.
As to whether you hit much of the
I don't mind the one in Newer.
See?
So at least you get 2 option of 2 Yorkshire puds.
Because it's my fault,
Well,
because you don't open the green crates.
There's nothing better than 2 Yorkshire.
You don't get that at any other pub.
No, Ted or whatever.
They have to give you the. You have to
No,
give you
is it
one.
Lord Ted's?
Yeah,
Or is it
it's
the
Lord
other
Ted.
one?
It's Lord Ted. It's the one that we went
Yes,
to.
but you think you're also gonna be having something nice on that day after, aren't you? You're going out for meals or that.
No, but tomorrow's my special day.
How many days are we going out for food?
Thursday and
At
Friday.
the beginning of the week when we decided to do all this, your grandma I wasn't aware she was getting married.
But it's fine because that's my backup replacement for Friday.
Videos posted out on days and days.
It's fine, that's my backup, yeah.
Thanks, that's very classy, isn't it?
Some backup support! Mum's not there, you're gonna fill
I
the
think
gaps.
Adam's not gonna be there when she gets married either.
Where's he gonna be?
A couple of batteries have been hard to come by.
He's only going to be.
Across the practice pitches to the boundary.
So what's your
We're only there for being the witnesses.
Yeah, but what's the point doing that in the vicinity witnesses?
She needs a witness, and Wayne needs a witness.
And she chose you two, not even Adam.
Well, we always knew she would never do it. She would never do it without John.
Oh, there's even Pepe's.
Well, we can tell Joanne tomorrow and see if it's good results.
Who's tried out Pepe's?
No one gives a toss who's tried out Pepe's.
Footwork has been very crisp, hasn't it?
Come on, that.
You know them trousers that he found for Keegan, do you think they could do with a wash if you do it without wash?
Pepe's are.
No, it's in a one.
Okay, there's one in
Oh,
Get on the front foot.
Okay.
What's the motion?
No, it's now, if you went into Hatfield, they've got their own Pepe's. It's just opened 6 days ago.
No one gives a toss.
Oh, come on, one chicken's better than the other.
You know what?
Sorry, I want to take KFC down to 20th in my ranking table.
Yeah, it's well played. Movement.
I want to make it even more fun. This review.
Smothered, played late with soft hands.
In my heart. In my heart. You come with me on Friday night, chat since part of college.
No.
Me and Dad haven't done Candy Crush.
No, never.
I know.
Stop wasting bad chocolate biscuits. I will get them off.
Sorry.
Well, when I notice he's done it, I'll go back off and put them back. Maybe not put them in the tub, but I'll put them in the refrigerator.
Why are you not even eating your biscuits, kid? You just left them there.
Yeah, excellent spot. It's a,
I don't know why you have to put in there.
certainly of a bowler, to a bowler.
Parents can say it.
But he wastes all the stuff and leaves it in my room.
No,
Oh, I see this old crap in my room because he never tidies up. Needs me to.
Yeah, well, you don't go in your wardrobe.
No, I meant he gives all the wrappers and the wrappers are all over my room. And then my dad goes and criticises me instead.
Yeah.
I don't criticise you for that. I criticise you for all the other shit you've got everywhere.
Papers, box,
I say, can you put your clothes in one pile and you shove them right next to the radiator or under cupboards or anywhere?
Oh.
I don't know how many times you have tidied that bedroom and you fuck it up again.
You're gone quiet now, yeah.
So it's not just his wrappers.
It's all gone quiet over there.
Sorry, but he never tidies anything up. And he never even takes the black thing stand into the room. He leaves me to bloody have to do everything.
And is that a problem?
He can't do it.
Is that an issue?
For God's sake.
A table.
Go on
He
then.
can't even do anything.
What's
He's
that?
useless.
Charming.
To you, Charlie.
Ooh.
While you give me that to start it, and then you can go get the cup out your bottle out of your room.
Should have I brought it down, I think. I'm not sure.
Well, when I was up there last, it was still in.
Brooding cloud. We feel the worst has passed.
Jiggles. So we got ready for 10:30 tomorrow on Friday.
That's a weird way of closing your eyes. That position.
Oh, stop trying to pen me. Oh, whatever you're doing.
And yeah, Jesus, you ain't got a pen.
Pakistan's preparation for this test series. They had
Exactly.
I need that one, it's rechargeable.
Oh, it's in a cupboard.
Select 11, which they won.
Yeah, and I thought it'd be good on you. And it worked, didn't it? Did it about me.
Played softly, goes straight down into the gap.
The battery. Coming soon. Ow!
Tried the fuck face coming soon.
Oh, for God's sake!
No!
Are you filming that?
Yeah.
Inside the line of his left hip. Tells you that he's in control of the ball. He can push at it. That's okay.
It's in a minute. This.
If you have a look at Imamul Haq, the way he lines up, he has what you call an early trigger before the ball is released. And almost exposes his leg stump. Have a look at this. Shows you a little bit of his leg stump. Basically tells you he wants to get outside the line as quickly as possible. Anything on the stump, he will be looking to play straight, and anything just outside, wants to be leaving it as much as possible, especially from around the wicket. That's a good shot. Even though he didn't get any run for it, you would feel a lot better. Lining up quite nicely. And you can see the difference when it is overcast and cloudy. Obviously doing a bit. Now the sun is out. It's probably as good as it gets in any part of England to bat in. Hitting through the line. One thing he's got to be aware is, with the Duke's ball and its pronounced seam, he shouldn't be lazy in getting into his drives. He needs to be on top of it constantly. I don't think he's bouncers yet.
No. I guess the bowling group and their captain have discussed making the most of the Dukes and the movement, keeping the catches in. By keeping the ball full, and by and large they've